Hello again, everybody. Lance Smith here, and welcome to episode 268 of the Bible Difficulties and Answers podcast. We've now finished book one, and we're stepping into book two, What Christians Believe. Last week, C.S. Lewis left us with a very honest and sobering conclusion. We have real cause to be uneasy. There's a moral law written on the human heart, and there's a power behind that law that we've all broken. That uneasy feeling isn't something to run from. It's actually the doorway into understanding what Christianity is really about. This week, Lewis begins book two by clearing away some confusion right at the start. He wants us to understand what Christians actually believe about God. And he begins by talking about the rival conceptions of God that exist in the world. Lewis opens with a point I think a lot of us need to hear today. He says this: if you are a Christian, you do not have to believe that all the other religions are simply wrong all through. If you are an atheist, you do have to believe that the main point in all of the religions of the whole world is simply one huge mistake. Now, Lewis isn't trying to insult atheists here. He's simply pointing out that Christianity can acknowledge partial truths elsewhere, while atheism ultimately has to conclude that humanity's religious instincts have been mistaken. In other words, Christians are free to recognize that other religions may contain hints of truth, even while believing that where Christianity differs from them, Christianity is right. Lewis uses a simple arithmetic example. There is only one right answer to a sum, but some wrong answers are much closer to being right than others. He then points out the first big division in humanity. The majority of people throughout history have believed in some kind of God or gods, while a minority, especially in the modern West, have not. On this point, Christianity lines up with the vast majority of the human race. Ancient Greeks and Romans, Hindus, Muslims, and most traditional societies against the modern materialist view that the universe is just matter in motion with no mind or purpose behind it. But then Lewis moves to the next big division, and this is where things get really interesting. Even among people who believe in God, there are two very different ideas about what kind of God He is. One view says that God is beyond good and evil. According to this view, our human ideas of good and bad are just limited human perspectives. The wiser you become, the less you'll want to call anything simply good or bad. Everything just is. And from the divine point of view, it's all part of the same reality. This view is often called pantheism. It was held by the philosopher Hegel and is found in various forms in Hinduism and some New Age thinking today. In this view, God is like the soul of the universe, animating it the way your soul animates your body. God and the universe are so intertwined that the distinction between creator and creation largely disappears. The other view, the one held by Jews, Muslims, and Christians, says that God is quite definitely good and righteous. He takes sides. He loves love and hates hatred. He wants us to behave in one way and not in another. This God is not the universe. He made the universe, like a painter makes a painting or a composer writes a symphony. The painter is not the painting. If the painting is destroyed, the painter still exists. His skill and creativity came from him, not from the canvas. Lewis points out that this difference hangs together with the first one. If you don't take the distinction between good and bad very seriously, then it's easy to say that everything in the world, even cancer or slums, is somehow part of God when viewed from the divine perspective. But if you believe some things really are bad and God really is good, then you can't talk like that. Lewis had little patience with the idea that evil is merely an illusion or that everything is equally divine. In his characteristically direct way, he answers, "Don't talk damned nonsense." And then he drops one of the most famous lines from his recordings: "For Christianity is a fighting religion." Lewis isn't talking about fighting people or cultures. He's talking about a moral and spiritual struggle against evil itself. He means that Christianity believes God made the world, space and time, heat and cold, colors and tastes, animals and vegetables, like a man making up a story out of his head. But it also believes that a great many things have gone wrong with the world God made, and that God insists very loudly on our putting them right again. This is why Christianity has always had a fighting edge to it. Not a fighting spirit against people, but a clear-eyed recognition that evil, injustice, suffering, and sin are real, and that God calls us to contend against them. We're not here to just accept everything as it is or to pretend that it's all good from the divine point of view. We're here to fight in prayer, in love, in truth-telling, in mercy, and in standing for what is right. Lewis then shares how he himself came to see this. For many years, he refused to listen to the Christian answers to the problem of evil because he kept thinking, isn't it much simpler to say the world was not made by any intelligent power? But then his own argument against God collapsed on him. His argument was that the universe seemed cruel and unjust. But how did he get the idea of just and unjust? A man doesn't call a line crooked unless he has some idea of a straight line. What was he comparing the universe with when he called it unjust? And if the whole show was bad and senseless from A to Z, why was he, supposedly just a part of the show, in such violent reaction against it? Lewis realized he couldn't give up his idea of justice without his argument against God collapsing too. And the idea of justice couldn't have come from a senseless, meaningless universe. It pointed to something, or someone, beyond the material world. That's the famous line here in Christian Apologetics, where Lewis writes, "A man does not call a line crooked unless he has some idea of a straight line." And here's the powerful application for us today. When people say, "Who are you to judge?" or "It's all relative," or "God is beyond good and evil," they're actually sawing off the branch they're sitting on. The very ability to call something wrong or unjust only makes sense if there's a real standard of straightness, a real moral law, outside ourselves and outside the material universe. So Lewis leaves us here. Christianity does not offer a tame, comfortable, non-judgmental God who just wants us to feel good about ourselves. It offers a God who is good, who made a good world, who takes the problem of evil and injustice with deadly seriousness, and who calls us to join him in the fight to set things right. That's why the faith has always had a fighting edge, not because Christians are supposed to be harsh or argumentative, but because we refuse to pretend that cancer is just part of God or that injustice is just a matter of perspective. We believe in a God who made the world like a painter makes a picture and who is now at work restoring the picture that we've damaged. Here's what I want you to carry with you this week from chapter 1. Christianity doesn't require you to believe every other religion is 100% wrong, but it does say that where it differs from them, Christianity is right. Second, the Christian God is not beyond good and evil. He is good. He takes sides, and he calls us to take sides with him. The famous line is true: you can't call anything crooked unless you have some idea of straight. Our sense of justice points us beyond the material universe to the God who made us. Christianity is a fighting religion, not against people, but against the evil, brokenness, and sin that have gone wrong with God's good world. Next Sunday, we move into chapter 2 of book 2, where Lewis will press further into what this God is really like and why the Christian idea of God is so distinctive. Until then, here's my simple invitation. Come as you are. Stand in the hall with us. Don't be afraid of the uneasy feeling. Don't run from the questions. And don't be afraid of the fighting edge of Christianity, a fight against the evil and brokenness that God intends to redeem. And keep asking the honest questions. Thank you for being here on this 6th Sunday of our journey through Mere Christianity. I'm really enjoying walking through this book with you week by week. You can email me at BibleDifficultiesAndAnswers@gmail.com. Join the conversation on Facebook. And if you'd like to support the podcast, head over to buymeacoffee.com/Lance Smith. All episodes are archived at BibleDifficultiesAndAnswers.podbean.com. I'm Lance Smith, wishing you good health, good study, and God's richest blessings. So long, everybody.